1 minute each, or then we'll move to the next. Let's move on.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My first question to the city of Johannesburg, and it's got nothing to do with being populist or trying to cover anything here. You know, I know truth hurts, or some people are involved. We've got evidence. I mean, people are giving us evidence, Chair. I'm not going to say something out of blue. I'm going to tell you facts as they are. Whether you take them or not is up to you. And I'm sorry to say that, Chair, to you, because some other things are really concerning, that the arrogancy which we have encountered at Scopa as well, both in Parliament by ministers for that matter. And some of us are not scared to confront those things as they are. One, I'm going to speak here about the bus service in the city of Johannesburg. What is the status of those bus services? Because there's a lot of things about those bus service. I just want to hear from the city itself. What is the status? Because the bus were once upon a time, the now resigned MMC, Kenny Gunene was involved in that, and there were buses which were procured, you know, elsewhere, and you'll give facts on that. My last one will be the Bree Street, Lilian Goyi Street. Why is that street being paved? Because the specification of that Lilian Goyi, there's no paving there. Because I've got that spec here. I've got the evidence. So I want to know why. And why was it given to foreign nationals? Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. My question is going to be on the SIU. Allegations from a whistleblower on irregular procurement processes and awarding of tenders at the Metro. And this goes back to already in 2018. However, the SIU reported to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts that several requests were made with no feedback from the Metro on the status of referrals emanating from the findings of the investigations. Are you actually dealing with the investigations? Have you responded since? And has there been consequential management taken with regards to any of these allegations? Thank you. The last one is back to state-owned properties. How many state-owned properties in the Metro are occupied by government officials in the Metro? Thank you.
Sorry, what is that? You're asking, is the government houses, or you're talking about buildings that just get it clear what are we talking about?
There are properties that government officials are occupying. And
is that residential?
It looks as though it's residential because they're talking about the electricity prepaid meters.
Okay.
And so it is residential.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Let's take the next one.
Thank you, Chair. The city seems to be stagnated on unqualified audit opinion with findings for the past 5 years. And one of the findings is that the action plans are not adequately implemented and monitored. What could be the reasons for that? A prohibited award was awarded. It's worth 13.34 million. It was awarded to suppliers who owned or managed by other state officials. I would like to know what are the reasons for that, and were there any consequence management that was implemented? The AGSA flagged that majority of Metro's entities relied on the audit process to produce credible financial statements. What are the reasons for that? Is that the lack of capacity? Lastly, Chair, it is stated that the disciplinary board is non-functional on the AG's report. Could we be taken into confidence? Why?
No, thank you very much, Chair. The HESA,
Okay, I wanted the answers, but you have started talking. Let's finish.
all right. Yeah, it's just one point from me, Chair. I think the HESA is raising the issue of poor consequence management, that you are not seen actively holding people accountable for wrongdoing. Can you update us regarding that? Because it's one of the matters that the HESA raised in 2023-2024. Thanks, Chair.
Response? May we have the response to all the questions? Is that you make very concise, direct. If I think it's wandering, I do try stopping and guiding. Please start with the question that you can answer.
I will, thank you, Chair. On the disciplinary board and consequence management, the City of Joburg, actually, the council approved the disciplinary board in 2024 after it was re-established when we came back into administration. Chair, the functionality of the disciplinary board has improved immensely in the past 18 months. We have already, through council, taken 18 matters for investigation of alleged financial misconduct. Out of those 18 matters, 6 are in full investigation with 1 billion. 12 of the matters with 2.2 billion are also at investigation stage. One of the recommendations we also made to the Section 79 committee in council 2 weeks ago was the frequency of the disciplinary board, because at the moment it sits quarterly, and one of the recommendations that the Section 79 committee on the oversight for governance made was that the frequency should be monthly, so that we actually expedite the cases of financial misconduct. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think one should respond on the issues around Brest Street, because there have been quite a number of issues that have been raised. But I do wish to indicate that the first contractor was terminated due to poor performance. We were not satisfied with their work and the pace of the contractor, and the work commenced with the civil works, replacing all the pipes, the cables underneath, and we had to extend the scope of work as well to incorporate certain amenities like your trading spaces. But there's also a new infrastructure that has been installed, your traffic signals, the new ventilation shafts, the gas venting system to prevent the maintenance build up. The use of the paving was deliberately used just for sustainability, because we know that paving is more sustainable than the tarring, considering the amount of rain that we have experienced in Johannesburg, but also to improve on our stormwater drainage system. But also, Brest Street is one of the busiest streets within the CPD. So the volume of motorists there, we felt it's prudent to utilize the material that will be sustainable, the material that will be strong, that will be able to contain the volume of traffic that street enjoys on daily basis. But if there are any technical matters that the committee will seek clarity on Bridge Street. We will then allow the administration to respond on that. But I will also request them to talk to issues of the appointment of the foreign national, because as politicians we don't get involved in those procurement spaces, and I think it's appropriate to allow officials to respond on that.
Thanks. Chair, just to provide details on the question and to support the response from MMC Finance. So in terms of the functionality of the disciplinary board, and this is linked to the consequence management. So there are already 6 reports that we dealt with as the board, and they link to the MTN contract, the construction of the Protea Glen fire station, the recovery, we recovered 200 million from SEP, the SARS issue, and then the payment of fire engines. So in relation to consequence management, 2 senior managers were taken for discipline through the labor relation process. And as the disciplinary board, we were concerned that one of the employees was dismissed. Based on the dismissal of the senior manager, the other employee then lodged a dispute, which the bargaining council then ordered reinstatement. However, as the board, we are now re-looking at the matter from a financial misconduct perspective, because monies were paid in advance, and we think we will then recharge the employees based on the financial misconduct regulations. In relation to MTN, again, disciplinary process was undertaken. A senior manager was dismissed as well. However, as the board, disciplinary board, we felt that 3 other managers that were involved had not been taken through a disciplinary process, and therefore will recommend. Council has approved now that we may proceed. In terms of the construction of Protea Glen, where the city paid a 2.5 million fine to the province. The director responsible for that project was dismissed, and that matter is then closed. We started with the process to recover the money from the consulting firm that was appointed as consultation for the construction, and that process is ongoing. It's actually at the courts to recover that money. As I said, the 6th one was the recovery of 200 million from SEP, which came from the project at ICT that came as a part of investigations that we dealt with. So, Chair, just to demonstrate that the DC board is in fact effect and consequence management has been infected. Council has already approved on the 13 new cases that we are dealing with as a disciplinary board, and we are getting the final disciplinaries. Chair, I do want to look at the issue around the, and I'm not sure if members Kosana was talking about, so we have 2 bus services in the city. We have the bus rapid transport, which is BRT, which is fully functional. I think one of the audits that came out from the AG was that the new route had not been operational, but we had concluded construction. So indeed, as part of the feeder buses, and I think you are referring to the 10 feeder buses that we had bought for the phase 1CA, and those buses were bought as feeder, and that's what created the problems with the taxi associations. But we had gone through a formal process to procure those. Metro Bus is fully functional. We have procured about 13 new buses for them, and we've received 6 of those new buses, and the service is still functional. I think the acting mayor has covered Lillian Goy. In relation to, Chair, there's a question around the SIU investigations. And I'm not sure how to go straight to it, but all the SIU investigations, and I'll refer the one about procurement of fire engines that we were aware of. We participated with the investigation. We received the final report from the investigator. However, when we did the consequence management, the challenge became through the disciplinary process that the proclamation was made by the president. However, the final report was not signed by the president, and therefore it was becoming difficult for us to manage the case, because what the defendant raised was, give us the final investigation that has been signed by the president and not signed by the investigator herself. And that became an issue, and we wrote back to the SIU to say, please give us the final report, because it's the president who makes the proclamation. And in order for us, as part of a fair labor process, we need to provide the employees who are affected with the final report that has been signed by the president in order for the DC to continue. So we wrote back to the SIU and we requested that the final report must be signed. So as I've indicated, you may be referring to a different investigation report, but we have participated, and that I can assure you that was one of the projects that I was dealing with. And maybe if you are dealing with a specific
Thank you, Chair,
SIU
and
issue, we can
greetings once
deal with
again
it.
to the House.
In relation to,
Chair, to the
employees of the
Premier.
city
Premier.
who are residing in
I want to echo my colleagues,
facilities that are owned by the city, there's a number of
sentiments
those.
here,
You'd recall that
especially regarding
particularly in the emergency
the issue of
services, in the
officials.
fire stations, we were required to work 24 hours, and therefore we had porting facilities. We had facilities in all the stations. So there's a number of those. That report, Chair, can be provided. We also have social housing facilities where we allocate them to employees of the city that either work for parks or that work in the different entities and departments, and that list can obviously be made available. But those are residential quarters that were designed from the previous administration, and therefore we've allocated them to staff that work in the municipality, particularly those that work for departments that are required for 24/7 facilities. Chair, I think we've covered almost all the issues from that I could note. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, mine is going to be very short and precise. As Speaker and as Council, we don't shy away from truth. Our Oversight Committee, particularly the Public Accounts Committee, MPAC, has been strengthening their work to ensure that management actions plans are monitored. We've had a 3-day workshop of MPAC to ensure that we deal with the UIFWs, that repeat findings are reduced, and that consequent management becomes a reality rather than a theory. We are equally determined to improve the quality of our legislative oversight. This includes regular interrogation of in-year performance and financial reports. We are also strengthening MPAC's power to track implementation of remedial actions. We also insisting on transparency. I thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. I'll just take the audit questions around the adjustments that were made to the financial statements. Chair, as per our report, the biggest adjustments made to the City of Johannesburg financial statements were around assets, in particular our mega projects and our community assets. So what we have done, remember, as part of improving that is to a strong emphasis on the interim audit around assets, making sure that they are verified, number one. Number two, if they are ready for use, let them be capitalized so that we can depreciate. If you would understand, if you are adjusting the financial statement at an asset level, it means that the depreciation in the income statement is also misstated. So number one, verification of the assets that are sitting in work in progress, making sure that whatever asset is ready for use is being capitalized, and whatever stays in work in progress is valid project that is still not intended for, is not ready for its intended use. So that we are monitoring also through the Operation Clean Audit Committee, which is co-chaired by myself and the head of internal audit. We give reports to our executive management team where we track any assets that are behind schedule and make sure that they are brought back to the required pace or in terms of implementation of that infrastructure, and making sure that they are recognized as capitalized in the financial statements. Number two, in terms of, I think the COO has already answered around the SOPs that we have in terms of employees of the state, because the contract that was actually picked up by the AG was around a SITA contract that we used, the State Information Technology contract, in buying laptops. It was not 13 million, and we've communicated that to the AG. Those laptops were around 133,000. We've put it in the report, and we've communicated to the AG as well. But also we've put in SOPs in our own procurement process, which we have detailed in terms of employing a tool, a digital tool, making sure before any award award is done, that tool checks if there's any, that entity has got any employee of the state, any sphere of government, and that has drastically reduced any non-compliance in terms of any award to employees of state. I think everything else, Chair, has been covered. I just wanted to cover that part. Thanks.
That's fine. Let's proceed.
Sure, I would do honestly.